19 to 23. And it is read, and I'm reading from the King James translation. For though I be free from all men, yet have I made myself a to all, that I might gain them more. Unto the Jews I became a Jew, that I might gain the Jews. To them that are under the law, as in under the law, that I might gain them, and that are under the law. To them that are without law, as without law, being not without law to God, but under the law of Christ, that I might gain them, gain them that are without law. To that weak, to the weak became I as I am weak, that I might gain the weak, and I made them all things to all men, that I might be by all means saved by some. And this I do for the gospel's sake, that I might be the partaker thereof with you. So also the theme of this is each one teach one. And the goal of that is we want to bring everybody up with us. So I want to start off this today is just really talk about what it means to be a young man. To be a young man, I think a lot of times you're looked at as if you don't know things. You're looked as if things you don't know, and truly you don't. You need to look to your elders to gain knowledge. For as you're taking the step becoming a man, it's one of the things to where you truly don't know what's going on. And if you don't look to the people who are ahead of you, you honestly are robbing yourself of the knowledge that you can have. Truly, it's a thing of you have to realize you're being watched. You know, when you go from being a young man to a man of itself, it's no longer just about you. There's responsibilities that you take on. I know myself, I've recently became a husband, and there's things that I have to do that I have to realize that being a husband isn't just about being there, is more than just being there for my wife. I have to lead my family that's coming after it. I look to have children in the future, and I want my children to have a good example to look up to. And I got to be the first person to do that. Um, so in a way, I always think of being a man as if I always have to be on my toes, I always have to be ready, and I always have to make sure that every step I make is not just about me, but for my family. So panelists, I want to ask you, Brother Mobley, to you, what was the biggest thing that you learned from going from being a young man to becoming a man yourself?
Well, pretty much it's just when you're in a situation where it's that a lot of the men in your family are just doing their own particular thing and you have to find your own pathway. It was difficult because of the fact that the men in my family were not really there but present. So I relied on my grandfather a lot. So when he passed away early on, I was in the eighth grade, it pretty much kind of just left me out there, so much like say in the wilderness.
Yeah.
So the struggle was just trying to find that family or that person that I saw that my friends may had a uncle or a father that instilled in us, good things and kind of latched on to that. So it's pretty much it's an ongoing struggle every day for kids these days
Yeah.
to just have to just find somebody they can latch on to learn from.
So, Brother Carlos, I want to ask you as well too. I know we all, and what Brother Moby talked about is really having that person that you look up to, that person that you got that mentorship to grow up from. For you, what was something like that to where you learned?
Can you hear me? Again, my name is Reginald Crossley, and to your point, sir, growing up I have embodied so many characteristics from the many men in my life. Pastor being one of those men who have empowered me to be a better father, to be a better person, to be a better community leader. Oftentimes, you may not have a father figure in your life. However, the men around you can very much so play that role. Um, you know, a lot of the work I do is involving working with young people, and I know for a fact they may not have that male figure. So as men, we need to be the ones to step up, knowing that they may not have that male figure, and filling that gap for those young men. Um, I actually wanted to, if you don't mind, go in a different direction and
No.
just take a deeper dive. I feel like this pandemic has truly been a blessing in disguise, and many people may not understand that. But I have truly been so appreciative of this time, taking the time to be um, to recharge, to reconnect with family, reconnect with nature, more importantly, reconnect with God. It's been a blessing for me to have this time on my hand to learn to be a better father, learn to be a better man overall, learn to be a better husband, and so many other things, learn to be a better businessman. This has been an ideal moment in our world to slow down a bit and see how we can be better people overall. And that's exactly what I've been doing during this pandemic. And I think more than ever, our young men need role models as they're home being influenced or encouraged by what they see in media oftentimes, and not having father figures in the household or being raised by the television. So I challenge all men. We always have so many excuses, but there should be no excuses during this pandemic that you don't have time or that you don't have the resources. I think more than ever during this pandemic, there's abundance of resources out there and funding and opportunities, but more importantly, time. It's not always about the money and the resources, but more importantly, the time that it takes to be a good role model, or to be a better father, to be a better husband. So I just wanted to start with that and just understanding where we are as a country, where we are as humanity, and just seizing the opportunity and the time that we have in our hands right now.
You know what? I'm so happy you brought up using that time wisely. You know what's funny? Sometimes I think a lot of times God lets certain things happen to force us to have to change. You know, I think during this time of the pandemic, everybody had to stay still. It took away distractions. I'm sorry. I'm really happy you brought that up because I think it was very important to use that time during the pandemic to grow. I think a lot of times I even myself realized how much time I wasted to where when I had to sit still, I think when you're forced to sit still, you have to look at yourself. You got to look in the mirror and see what you need to improve on. How can you be a better man and a better role model? So no, thank you this is why we're having talks like this today, so we can discuss things like that. No, I'm really happy. I definitely want to move on, and since, you got it going, so Pastor Crosley, tell us a little bit about some leadership skills and the programs that you have to help people out.
So currently I oversee a wide range of youth services for Fulton County government. And all of what we do is a for youth, by youth type of approach. We have a wide range of programming, from leadership programming, of course, but things that are encouraging young men to prevent the engagement with gang prevention. Again, just filling in those gaps. What we do is we go into the respective communities and we identify the needs in those communities. And in turn, we come together as a body and offer realistic solutions on how to address those things. Those things can be policy related, of course, programming, just really engaging our young people in areas that they may be lacking. And again, to my point earlier, I think these young people need the help now more than ever. And we don't necessarily have to be in a physical space to touch these young men. The virtual interaction is still as impactful. Someone to just to be an ear, to give advice, or to push them in the right direction in terms of leadership or entrepreneurship. So there's so many resources out there. And I also want to make mention of the many business resources that many young people may think they're too young to start to engage in business or start to build a framework for the type of business they want to go into. I know you all have heard of the PPP loans and all of these various things out there, but I think the time is now to, even if you're not a businessman now per se, but you can start to learn those skill sets. You can start to research on what it is you want to do and start to identify the people that can help you get to that path. My father always told me, if you want to be a doctor, you must hang around doctors. If you want to be a leader, you got to hang around leaders. You can't expect to learn how to speak Spanish, but you're hanging around the French people. So you really have to embody those characteristics and put those positions to gain those characteristics that are necessary for the field you want to go into. And too often, we associate ourselves with people that may not be on our path, or that may be taking us off a path. And me and Mr. Morris had this conversation just last night. You know, friends that are holding you back, or friends that are maybe into different things or negative things, no matter how positive you are, that negative energy is gonna pull from that positivity that you have. And my father told me a very powerful statement that stuck with me growing up, and he said, friends are like elevators. Some will take you up, some will take you down, and some will get you stuck. And that's something that stuck with me so much because, you know, going to school here in Atlanta in the AUC, and, you know, having friends and people from all over the country, and, you know, everyone getting here without true supervision in a new chapter, just becoming a true adult. It's so easy to be coerced and led down a wrong path. But, you know, learning those key principles about being an individual and being a trendsetter and not following someone. And, you know, I can go on, and I won't go too much deeper.
But you talking good stuff, brother. Ain't nothing wrong with that.
But
I did want to ask you a question off that, though, because one thing I did like that you brought up was the fact of having friends who can bring you up or take you down. Another part of that I want to ask you is, in a way, how do you, once you get to a certain level where you obtain knowledge, you obtain the resources to help others, how do you reach back down to help those friends come up with you? Or how do you know the friends that you can and can't help?
That's a very good question. I think you can help everyone in some form or fashion. And help is such a broad word. It doesn't always have to be physical, hands-on help. It can be spiritual help, praying for that person. It could be, you know, just giving them advice, just sharing a resource, an employment opportunity, a program for their children. I think there's so many ways you can help people. And people often associate help with financial support and things of that nature. Time is such a powerful thing and more valuable than money. So I think helping people with your time and attention is so powerful. So I think everyone needs some sort of mentor supporter, no matter how old you are. You can be 50, 60, 80 years old. People still have mentors and people who help guide them. And oftentimes, your mentor doesn't have to be older than you. Your mentor can be younger than you. Someone who may have been there, done some things, and can speak through experience, or may have experienced something before you. Age has nothing to do with it. So I think that's also a very big point that we should emphasize on, that we learn from everyone around us, whether they're kids or whether they're adults, whether they're, you know, from Atlanta or from Dubai. It doesn't matter. Everyone has had walks and experiences in life that we can exchange with each other.
Brother Mo, you want to say something? Oh, my bad. I saw you pick up the mic. Thought you was getting ready to drop 2 cents. But no, I definitely want to, I think you did a great way for us to segue to Brother Kyle Morris, because one thing I definitely want to make sure that we talk about today is entrepreneurship. I thoroughly do believe that as black, and I'm going to be more specifically to black men, we have to have ownership. Just having the job, working 9 to 5 every day is great, is good, but ultimately we have to have ownership, because we have to bring others up with us. If we don't own our own things, other people will take it from us and take it over. We have to have ownership. If I cannot repeat that enough, but as black men, as black people, we must have ownership in our own community so we can bring everybody up with us. Like I said, I don't want to take up all day talking about that, but Brother Kyle Morris, please tell us about how you got your business started.
Well, good evening. Good afternoon, everybody. First off, I'd like to say, Kyle Morris, and I want to just jump back into the original part of just the transition and what I realized or what happened in my life to tap into even want to be who I am today or where I aspire to be. I think really one of our major problems is lack of information, for one, as a people, but definitely, as Mr. Crossley said, lack of mentorship. I feel myself, I am the mold of all of the people who I wanted to be like and all the people who I aspired to meet but never got the chance to. A major problem that we fail affects our community is father figures. My father was in my life, but he didn't help me grow up. It's one of those things that I feel that when you have a proper mentor, or you have somebody that you can look up to, or you can actually just embody everything that that person was or is starting to become, you tend to take on their characteristics, you tend to take on a lot of things that that person just really had, and even the things that they may do wrong, you'll be able to see. Me coming out here to college was what changed my life. When I was in high school, I wanted to be an FBI agent. I wanted to be in the government. My mother was a police officer, so there was a lot of different things in law enforcement and government that attracted me just, to a career. When I got out here to Atlanta, I'm a Morehouse grad, I was able to see different things and take on a different level of motivation and inspiration that came from the city itself, seeing a lot of minority owners, just minority bosses, seeing a lot of just being able to wake up in the morning and having a different feel of security when you're around a bunch of African Americans who own properties and who own their cars, aren't really leasing, aren't renting everything or borrowing. It's more ownership. I myself, did start off as an entrepreneur at a young age. I was the kid who used to watch the Weather Channel just for snow days, living in Boston. It was very important to me to not just have those days off, but always try to increase my allowance. So to increase my allowance in the spring, it was definitely cutting grass and doing certain things of that nature. But in the wintertime, it was literally snow days come, like, let's go out there and shovel. Let's figure out what we can do between my closest friends and pretty much just try to start our own little ways of getting money, the legal way, the proper way, but really not having true direction. I lost my mentor when I was 14 years old. Actually, I just turned 15, excuse me. And that changed my life. It changed my life majorly because it was my uncle. He was extremely important to me. And my selfish honesty in his death was, I remember just being so jealous of the relationship that he shared with all of the kids in the community. Like, I was happy to know that he impacted so many people's lives, but I remember the loss that I felt when he died in a car accident, tragically. Everybody felt that loss. And then I put myself back to the place of realizing that there was times when he was spending time with other kids in the community, but it's because they didn't have him. They didn't have an uncle, a real blood uncle. They didn't have a father. They didn't have an older brother. And he was just that person that just stood out to everybody in the community. So everyone lost a mentor in his late 20s, and late 20s to kids and, 13, 14, 15, all the way up to, 20 years old. Everybody just felt that loss. So I always just tried my hardest to see whatever it was that I could do to replace him and try to do my best to fulfill all the dreams and goals that he shared with me. And that's pretty much where the entrepreneurship came in, because I had numerous conversations with him. And it wasn't until I got out here to college that I realized, just remembered all of those conversations and just the different things I wanted and how he opened my eyes to it. And I feel like we have the opportunity to pretty much pass down a lot of information, but we don't do so. We don't do so for a fear of, it's so hard to figure out at times what the fear is that we have amongst our people, but the majority of the time it's just our lack of sharing this information. And sometimes it can just come in the form of a book. If you don't want to say it yourself, just point somebody in the right direction. And the entrepreneurship that I've jumped off to right when I got into college, is Mr. Crosley could attest to, C3. It was a landscaping company. It was something that I knew that I did when I was in high school, and I was in elementary school. And as I got older, I realized, like, why aren't I doing this now? It's something that I knew, something that I picked up at a young age. It's something that I had some success, short success. And as we get into success, I need everyone to understand, success and what that true definition is with success. A lot of people here in this panel are successful in their own right. Even some people who are listening to us right now are successful, but there's no true dollar amount to success. Like, being successful is being both happy and content, and it comes in so many forms and ways of life that you can be both happy and content. And when you are, then you're truly successful. Don't let anybody tell you that you need to have $1 million to be successful. You need to have $100,000 to be successful in that field. My mother, one of the best lessons that she always used to say to me, which everybody's heard, is jack of all trades, master of none. But I remember the day that I could actually look at her and say, you know, Ma, like, you were right. I am really a jack of all trades, but I'm a master of some. And it took a while for her to sit there and understand what it was. But yeah, like all of these things that you've been doing over the years, all these little small, you know, quote unquote hustles or businesses or these little things that you did, like you never really failed. You just stopped doing them, but you were still learning in the process. So when you jump back into it, it's a situation where like, nah, this is just all a learning lesson. This was all just a step. I have certain opportunities, even currently, I just jumped back into the clothing industry, and that's something that I started off that helped me pay through college was screen printing, making t-shirts and selling them, getting contracted out by the city back home where I'm from to do the mayor's summer youth employment program shirts for 5 years in a row, being contracted to do t-shirts for the kids to summer employment programs. And then realizing more recently during this pandemic, like, let me go back into all of the things that I was doing that I seen some level of success and was happy at in the process. So I use this pandemic to pretty much recalibrate my own thoughts and system and everything that I operated off of and jump back into it and been finding the success again that I once found when I started doing some of these companies. But currently right now, it's still one of those jack of all trade, master of some things. And I'm realizing as the pandemic hit, like this is the time for pandemic-proof profits.
like that.
If there's one thing that you can sit back and think about or write down or try to figure out, like stop writing out these long-term goals. Long-term goals are great. It's just short-term goals come sooner. So if you can understand that at any point, shape, and time, like we could be hit with another pandemic, we could be hit with another recession that pushes people back. But if you got them pandemic-proof profits that you cooking up, that you whipping up, that you reading about, understanding, building with other people on, you know, having a rainy day fund, so when it comes down to it, you can invest into something that you always wanted to do. You just got to make sure you find the proper people around you to help push that. As Mr. Crossley said, you know, support doesn't always have to be financial. That, like, I had to pretty much move back to Atlanta from Boston just to feel that mental, emotional support that I felt in the city just from walking into Kroger and somebody smiling at me and complimenting your shirt, you know, just saying something to make you feel good and giving you that just boost for the day. And it's so easy to tell a person this, but I stress this. It's so easy to be nice. It's so easy to be kind. And it's so easy to be helpful. And that's what we just need to do more than anything is just try to figure out like who it is that I can help for the day. Is there somebody I can help today? And sometimes you just gotta look in your phone and just call back people that you haven't called back in a while. And that help right there, just that air or whatever it is that you can lean to them could go a whole long way. I know I could keep going, but
Oh no, hey, look, you speaking good. I wasn't gonna stop you. But this something I did want to ask you, and something that you hit on. When I know you speak about your uncle, he was that role model that helped you kind of give you something to look at. I call it basically a light to look at to kind of mold yourself. When he passed, my bad if I missed this. What was it that kind of helped you get over it, to help you kind of push forward, knowing that your uncle instilled something in you to help you move forward? Like, what was it that? Like, what happened with your dad?
well, the crazy thing about it is when he passed, I caught probably the darkest of my days following that. Like, I wasn't working on my jumper or my handle because at the time I just kind of shut down for a little bit, and it affected my grades. There was a lot of things that happened like right away because it just hit me. Like I never lost somebody at that time, and just to lose him, what it was after when I realized and got my report card and had the conversation with my mother and got to visit my brother out in Howard, that like this is what my uncle would want. My uncle would want for me to go to college. My uncle would want for me to get my stuff together. Like I really feel like I'm letting him down. I wasn't able to connect and really feel like I could, you know, reach out to anybody else other than just feel like he's just watching me and he's looking down on me. And I wasn't proud of what I was seeing when I looked in the mirror. and I knew he wouldn't have been happy if, in fact, he was right there staring at me in the process. So it's one of those things. Um, I think it was just a reflection of what it was that would make him proud and make him happy. And then I can say physically, me taking a trip, a college tour, that was what changed my whole mind frame. Because see, even too when he passed, I'm sorry for leaving this out, I was one of the two youngest city workers back home to get employed by the city. We were volunteering as youth and got employed to be youth workers. So at the time that he passed, I had a job. So as much as my grades were slumping and a lot of things, like I was just kind of focused on making money and didn't really care about too much. And then when I realized like that's not the way, like there got to be more than just working and trying to, see how much you have at the end of the week and all of that, that really just shaped and just made me realize like, nah, I really want to go to college. Like I really need to find a trade. And that's where the screen printing came in. Other things through that I was like, okay, like I gotta pick this up. And the conversation and seeing my brother actually thrive at Howard was like, yeah, like this is what I need. I need something like this. And having an opportunity to understand what Morehouse already stood for and everything about the historic history, or the history behind the school and a lot of another thing too was just how hard it was to get in. It seemed was that I was allured to that. It was something that like I really knew that I had the grades that couldn't show, but like, let me see if I could do this. And I think that was probably the highest achievement in everything that I went through was like trying and knowing that I seemed so far away from being able to reach that goal, but within 2 years I was able to do so and turn my act around and pretty much help other people at a young age.
And that's all. I just want to get all the knowledge I can get out there from you. So another thing I also was wondering, anybody starting a business tomorrow, if they came up to you and asked you, what was the one trait that you had that you held on to that helped you start your business? Like, what was that one trait? Was it your ambition to go get it? Was it your you didn't have you weren't afraid of fear? Like, what was that one aspect of yourself you feel like helped you?
No, you just hit it at the end right there. The pandemic has opened us to the same thing that started me opening up, different ventures of mine. Was I decided at some point, like, I really want to just continue to live and walk in faith and not in fear, and be one of those people who could just be so inspired and ambitious that, like, there was a couple people who were successful in my city professionally, like Patrick Ewing is from my hometown. Ramel Robinson is another person who was a family member, adopted family member of ours. So a lot of people were seeing success from these people, but it was all professional sports and, Ben Affleck, Matt Damon, like those are from our city, the people, from that were seeing this type of entertainment success. And I just, wanted to be successful another route. I wanted to find another outlet and pretty much, be looked at as a walking statue. And I honestly could tell you that it was literally just that want and just trying to be ambitious, as much as I could and see things and just ask questions. I think that's what it was asking the questions is what allowed me to jump into different fields and see different things. But hands down, there's no doubt about it that, like, I feel it was literally just the environment I'm around and not knowing anybody who really was successful personally outside of, a relative who had a great jump shot.
I like it. And one thing I'm gonna ask all the panelists one by one is, one thing I love that you brought up was the idea of success. I truly feel like a lot of times we have this idea of success being, like you said, a dollar amount, what kind of house you got, what kind of car you driving every day. But success is deeper than that. Truly, not everybody's meant to be rich. It's the ugly fact of life. Not everybody's meant to have that, but I feel like we all do have a purpose that God put us here for. You just got to find that purpose. So I do want to start with you. What is your idea of success? Like, to you, what is that?
Well, as I said before, and I hope if you missed that first part of it, like success is literally two things to me. Like it's being both happy and content. and that is literally it, whatever it may be, like, and you can even have, you don't really have, I mean, I advise everyone to at least try and think about starting a business, whether it's, doing hair, or whether it's, I mean, because a lot of people don't understand, like barbers are, entrepreneurs, those are people who are self-employed, whether it's being a plumber, trying to pick up a trade and, realize that, you pretty much created an endless target market. Like I always try to tell people, if you're trying to jump into business and be successful with it, you got to solve a problem. Like you have to solve a problem. And if you're not going to solve a problem, you have to supply something that is in high demand pretty much at all times, no matter what. For every Burger King, there's a McDonald's, and don't feel that because somebody did something before you that you can't do it better, So to be successful in it, just make sure that you're happy in what you're doing and you're content and your family's content with what's coming in to help pay the bills and take care of everybody in the process. Like as long as you're able to pretty much wake up when you're tired of sleeping, then you on your way to being somewhat successful. A lot of people just are not happy. They're just not happy with the way their life's going. They're not happy with the direction that they chose. I graduated with a political science degree. I almost had a minor in management, but didn't get it. But that didn't stop me from doing everything I could to be an entrepreneur because I just had that want. The political science was just a fallback because I knew that I could always own a business without having a business degree. And that's what a lot of people don't realize. Like, no, you really can. There's simple steps. There's tutorials. There's so many different ways to be able to start a business. It's just, you just have to have that want to go get it and do it and not be afraid of what's going to happen. And if you do fall into some little hiccup, question, just ask somebody. And I'm sure that somebody will be able to guide you. And if not, know them and introduce yourself, and that's how you start off. You see somebody who's selling houses and you don't know them, but write their name down off of anything that you see posted in regards to that house for sale. Ask some questions, see if in fact you can intern, do something free. Like there's a lot of ways of picking up knowledge from people by just offering to help them for free. And when you offer to help somebody for free, they're gonna give you some free game out of that. And from there you can take it and go a whole long way with it.
Brother Crosses, what's success to you?
Success to me, it's a good question. I say success to me is being happy and comfortable in my own skin. I think too often we compare success with what we may see or what society may have depicted to be success. Oftentimes, the depiction of financial wealth, people may associate that with success. But you have people who, let's say in third world countries, are so happy and successful with just having their family around, with just being a good husband or being a good father, being able to provide for their family. So in a nutshell, I think true success is leaving a legacy for your family. And being able to say that you left something for your kids. Oh man, that should be our goal, is to leave for those heirs that will come behind us. So to me, success again is leaving a legacy for your family and something that your kids can benefit from.
Love that. Legacy building, which is relinquish life, and every time I know it's at least once a month I make sure to post empire building. And I guess I can go ahead and say what success is to me right now. Success for me is, like you said, a legacy. Something my mother always imparted to me. She's like, when I leave this earth, so then when you leave this earth, you leave more for my grandchildren. And how can I see that? And I feel like as a community we need to, is we have to generate generational wealth. That's the big part of our community. I feel like we've honestly just lagged behind. And let's be real, there's reasons for that. we were slaves. We weren't allowed to read. We weren't allowed to have the good jobs. That's just the facts. But we have to build generational wealth for ourselves. Pass it on to our kids. Let them pass it on to their kids. So just like you said, honestly, that's my idea of success. Whatever my mother has left me, my job is to double that. And when I have my kids, tell them their job is to double that. And then one day, who knows? I might have a daughter, son, or whatever may come. I want them to know that, hey, Thaddeus Franklin started a legacy for our family, and that's what I want to keep going. So, Brother Mobley, tell me, what's success to you?
Well, y'all both pretty much got some good touch points on that.
My bad, we hijacked you.
No, it's fine, but because it's all relative, you know what I mean? Because success for me is when you can look yourself in the mirror and say, well done, as they say when you meet the master and you say, well done. If you can look at yourself in the mirror every day and say, you did a good job that day, and listen to everybody else. Am I successful? No, because I can look in the mirror every day and say, good job today. So it's a continuous process. So success is a process of getting to that point where you can say every day, well done, if it's your last day. So, I mean, it's an ongoing process with that to become successful. That's in my opinion. As being probably the oldest member on this panel, you guys are really, and ball this up because y'all touch everything, but I'm going to keep that for later. But that's my definition of success on that.
No, I get it. Sorry, I know I spent a little bit of time on entrepreneurship, but just for me,
But it's good.
Generational wealth. Like as a community, we gotta start building that. Like we gotta have ownership over our own stuff. I know a lot of times we'll go into our own communities. It's not people like us who are owning stores where we live at. We gotta change that. We gotta own our own communities and build off that. We have to create our own abilities and have ownership. Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, and even in creating, I mean, that's one thing, but we have to support each other.
Yes.
Like you can create all day, and that's like one of our things. Like we create, but y'all have to, we have to take the time out to, you go to a dry cleaner's, there's a black-owned dry cleaner in the neighborhood. You might want to switch dry cleaners. It's okay if the starch is a little different from what you're accustomed to, then you might just have to tell them how you like it, and what they could do to improve their service, like whatever it may be. Like even to the one thing, we support the mom and pop restaurants that we have. That's one thing, but it's so much more than just food with us. We can do more than just cook. And we have to realize that, we have to support each other. As much as I didn't say, I said, I've had ups and downs in my, trials and tribulations of after this marathon that we jog. But it's the support. Starting a clothing line was great. Starting a landscaping company was cool. Getting into government contracting, which is another field that I was able to was great. But these all things come from support. If it wasn't supportive team, if it wasn't support from clients and customers, then I wouldn't be able to sit here today and speak on these things because I would have no experience in understanding that support can really take you a long way, but it starts from our people. We really have to be able to feel comfortable buying our own businesses, honestly, and that, we do love our other minorities and races out there, but we gotta buy black. We really do, and that's just how it goes down.
You gotta support your own people. It's just straight up.
Straight, for real.
Well, yeah, I love that. I love that we're having a good conversation today. Overall, that's what I want us to lead from. I want everybody in this room, everybody who's watching this, everybody I don't care if you're streaming on Facebook, YouTube, wherever you at, learn something from this. We're all just normal men talking about things. I want to take a time introducing everybody. I know at the beginning you probably thought I should have did that, but I did that on purpose. Reason why I didn't want to introduce everybody in the beginning, because I want people to look at us like normal black men talking about stuff. We're all different. We all got different backgrounds. We're all in different industries, but overall, we're just talking about things that we all go through. None of us go through anything different. You might see it different, be in a different place, but we all going through the same thing. My name is Thaddeus Franklin. That's Brother Reginald Crosley, Brother DeAnthony Mobley, and my apologies, Brother Kyle Boris. Sorry about that. That's our panel today. I want to pass it to Brother DeAnthony Mobley to close us out. He's talking about passing the baton.
Thank you, Brother Franklin. First, want to say thank you to you again, Brother Franklin, Brother Causey, Mother Morris, yes, and also Pastor Redmond for allowing us this opportunity. It's time to go deep, man, as they call it, conversation time. You know, kids are watching. You know, it's like, what is that we showing them? You know, it's pretty much like when you turn on the TV, everybody has a remote control clicker, right? So you click through it, find your favorite channel, see what's going on that channel. If you like what's playing, you leave it right there. So kids today, even kids, men, young men, older men, have that subliminal clicker in their head when they meet you face to face. So whatever you're showing them and giving them, they have time to either watch it or click off. So when you're raising young men, they're doing the same thing with you. So if you're not showing them good stuff or what they want to hear or listen to, they're going to click you off and go somewhere. So as a parent, son to click you off, because they will. And for where I came from for the last 6 years with the Department of Juvenile Justice, I've seen where a lot of kids have been clicking off the elderly men in their lives, or have been clicked off. So it just boils down to, if the young boys want to stay what they call on the block, it's just a pathway to go on the D block, if you get what I'm saying. You can go from the block to D block. It's learning in schools, this is the time where it's not a cliche anymore. Raising the child, because at the end of the day, old people, middle-aged people, and young people, we're now in the same boat to learn from each other on how to move forward in this pandemic. So whatever it is that you may fall short in, don't be afraid to ask for help, because we all need it. You know, and back to the men with the kids, it's easy to say, I don't know. 20 years ago, that was a good answer, because there's no way you can find out any other answer. It's just, I don't know, and just go about your business. But now, you can't just leave a kid hanging by saying, I don't know. They'll go to their phone and find an answer, probably already have the answer already. So make it abundant with your kid. Just Google it together. Find the answer out together. Because it's up to you to decide on how you're gonna allow your son or daughter to move forward based on the fact of information that you give them or don't give them, because they're watching you. You know, it ain't easy. Nobody's perfect with this, but we all have to understand that when you get up in the morning, hit that door, that people are watching. What show are you playing? You know, is it PG-13? Is it rated R? Rated, whatever the case may be, whatever you're showing them is going to be the perception that you're going to moving forward. So, in you know, it's easy to tell your kid, go out there and be the light, the athlete, the entertainer, the movie star. But it's also important to tell your kid it's okay to be the light, the teacher, the coach, the counselor, because it all works according to its purpose, right? So man, just understand that, you know, it's okay to ask for help. No one's perfect. Just ask. That's all I got to say about it.
I like it. Well, we have some men out in the crowd right now. Just want to open the floor. Y'all got anything you'd like to ask? You want to add to the conversation? I'm gonna give y'all that time.
the contribution that they've made today. I have enjoyed the conversation, and I know, but I would like to just Brother Crossley mentioned some of the programs that's available, and I want him to tell us specifically how can we get involved in those programs of Fulton County. And then I want the young man to tell me, because I need somebody to cut my trees down, and if he could help me, it would be a big help to me, because I got limbs falling everywhere. I'm just kidding, but I do have them, and I definitely need your help. But Crossley, tell us exactly where we can get that information.
Yes, so we have a lot of volunteer opportunities, some of which have been put on hold as a result of the pandemic and trying to maintain social distancing. But on every third Wednesday and third Saturdays, we do what we call HOPE, which stands for Helping Other People Every Day. This is an initiative where we go into low-income pockets throughout Fulton County, and we distribute a Hope Box. This box is filled with non-perishable items, and most importantly, it features a resource card that highlights resources for shelter, employment, rehabilitation, housing, and we would love to get anyone who has the time to come out to help us empower and touch some people in the community. But beyond that, we have employment opportunities. We have so many companies here in Atlanta hiring. So if any young people or even adults who are looking for employment, we are working with Amazon, Kroger, Walmart, even the airport has a wide range of opportunities right now. Delta is also hiring tractor trailer drivers if you have a CDL license. I also want to touch on the many emerging industries that are becoming as a result of the change of how we'll do business moving forward following this pandemic. And I want to encourage our young people to look into the jobs of tomorrow. Coding, there are over 30 or so different coding languages out there where you can create apps and create websites and computer science. There are so many things, and as Mr. Morris mentioned, vocational trades and training. Fulton County also offers, within our workforce development division, opportunities to go get certifications to get into construction areas. There's a high demand for carpenters right now, electricians, HVAC. So young people who are good with working with their hands or who may just want to get an additional skill set. See, these hard labors, people can't take this stuff from you. When you learn how to be a plumber, you learn how to be an electrician, you learn how to work with your hands. These are skills you can pass on to your kids and easily become an entrepreneur with. So there are so many opportunities. I would love to make these things available. I can get them out to Pastor Redmond and to the church administration, who can send them out perhaps as an email blast. But there are opportunities for business loans. There are opportunities for first-time home buyers who are looking for housing. We are in a very unique time right now where we are at the world's, the country's lowest interest rates for buying housing right now and loans. You know, you're finding 30-year loans going at about 3% right now, which is an ideal opportunity to purchase a home. I think that's part of building that legacy is owning real estate, owning land. You know, because you can't pass down your job to your child, but you can pass down a business, you can pass down a home, you can pass down an investment portfolio. So I would love to get all of these resources out to you. If you're looking for employment, regardless of your age, please reach out to the church. We'll have that database available, and you guys can tap into it.
Well, I'm just gonna wrap everything else up here. I think we really had some good conversations, some good talk today. Just like Pastor Redmond said, this is something that we are going to do again, so please continue to tune in for the next one that we have. Overall, I'm happy with the conversation we had. We talked about some great topics. We talked about some good things. But like I said, we got to help each other. Ownership, that's very important. Supporting the businesses that are being created. Just basically be here for each other. Each one teach one. God bless.